Hi, everyone.
Hey everyone, it is Cindy. This is an open door. It is May 13th, 2025. And this is the hour we call Finding Truth Everywhere, where we listen to a current day teacher, a podcast from science, from spirituality, from mysticism, um, new and old, and then we come together and we talk about what is meaningful to us, what is the same, how we can use what we've heard um, on our own journey and in our own life. Um, this week, we are discussing a podcast between Andre and Federico. Federico, I think is how you pronounce his name. Um, and I'm going to mostly open it up for conversation. I have a little bit to say, but first I got a song, as is my habit. Um, let's just play the song. Unless anybody wants to say anything before we begin. Play the song. There are a few things that I want to share, and then we'll open it up. Um,
Butterfly flying home, but can you fly on your own? Take your place in the world today. Butterfly flying home, cherry plum and chewing gum, mini skirts and cars that hum. I see you driving round with your head held high. Butterfly flying home. Stay a while here with me, up underneath the stars. When you go, you'll be free, 'cause you know who you are. You're a butterfly. Color scheme from a dream, a tapestry so supreme. I mean, I've never seen something so dang beautiful, child, as a butterfly flying home. They say I'm as crazy as a loon, but I'm alright, all dressed in white. Butterfly in the air. You can fly anywhere, a sight beyond compare, a sacred song and a sacred tone, as a butterfly flying home.
I confess, it's becoming one of my favorite words that I didn't even realize it until I just sat in this song, how deeply it was that for much of my spiritual path, I rejected the world I see. Um, I don't choose to do that anymore. If God is everything, then God is the world I see. And through the eyes of John Baptiste, especially, the world I see is stunning, miraculous, gorgeous. And it represents for me much of this podcast and all I really want to share. So here is a man for much of his life was and the words don't, like, I don't know all the right words, but in many ways he was a materialist, right? He was a physicist. He said, I was a physicist. He said, you need a hypothesis and you prove it. If you can't prove it, it's not real. And um, brilliant physicist, right? By all accounts. He's the reason we have touch screens and computers, and a whole bunch of things came through that very, very intelligent mind. And he spent a lot of time within the structure that the science taught him to expand. And then he had a direct experience and it all blew up, right? Blew up. And so if I say nothing else about that, afterwards he starts talking about, here's all the reasons why I had the direct experience. But the truth is, Byron Katie didn't have those things. Edgar Tolle didn't necessarily have those things, right? Direct experience happens. And what I can tell you is that I've never heard anyone explain to me in a way that we can reproduce scientifically why it happens, when it'll happen, for whom it'll happen. So I just assume hang out with A Course in Miracles tells me God takes the final step. And even Regina loves to teach, you never know. David Hawkins in the video some of us watched yesterday says you don't know when you're going to walk through, for him the final door is the ego death, right? We have no control over when these direct experience, what happens, and I have no desire to get frustrated by it. I've been taught to keep practicing, to keep showing up, to do what I love, to contemplate, to meditate, to have these conversations. And I have learned to do them simply because there's nothing else I'd rather do, right? They're no longer the goal. They don't have the goal to have the direct experience. My intention is to know the truth of who I am. I absolutely know that on some level that's already occurring, right? If you really sit and look at your lives, there's so much that has occurred over the decades that cannot be explained by the intellect, that I am very comfortable in knowing that there's something outside my intellect in charge of Cindy. The key to the entire podcast is that a man of science, the highest end, had a direct experience. I watched him try to say this is why. Like, afterwards, I looked back and I had the prayer and I wanted to know, etc. And I had the curiosity and I took responsibility for my life. He went back and said, these are why the things that are happening happens. But from my experience, you can't turn around and take full responsibility for your life and say a prayer in just the right way and do all of those things, and then have the experience of light shooting out of your chest and knowing love that's 10 million times larger than anything that you've ever known before. I don't know how that makes you feel. I know how it makes me feel. There's something that just relaxes, just lets go. Show up and just have the Cindy experience and know that there's something holding me. And at some point in space, time, whatever, it breaks through. A lot of us have had those experiences and we could talk about them, and there's a lot of use in talking about them. But even if you've never had that experience, something brought you here. Something pulled you into this moment. And don't let the intellect tell you it knows what that was, because my experience, anyway, my intellect doesn't know why I'm here. So, if that's all I say for an hour, I've said enough, but there are a few other things on my list. But I am willing to open things up if anybody wants to say anything before I go through some of these other things on my list. Rana.
I'd like to share just in case mayhem breaks out behind the scenes here. So I got through the first hour and I enjoyed it. The more I listened to this gentleman, the more I kind of fell in love with him and adored him for his passion about all this, And there were just a couple of things I took away. And if I heard them incorrectly and you heard something different, I'd love to hear that, of course. But he talked about consciousness going beyond numbers, and that free will is the existence of the possibilities. I just loved that. And that probabilities are also aspects of consciousness, which were kind of requiring a prediction about a possible future. And therefore, that requires some sort of conscious being, to have that connection. And no math can determine a free will decision. It's like it's beyond math. And I really felt like something dropped in when he was talking about the observer looking at something. That's where time and space all of a sudden happens, right? That illusion of that when the observer is observing. But then when there's no observer, you can't be sure that there's anything there. Like, so I'm still not 100% clear, but it's juicy. I love, and today it's not so much about, I need to understand this, boom, 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 boom. It's that curiosity of desiring to know the truth and feeling the edges of some of these statements and just asking, like I was saying to Cindy before, what does this mean right now? What does this bring up right now? And so what I did watch, what it brings up to me is just those infinite possibilities, and that's a great thing. That's the freedom. You can't put a number on love, right? And love is that freedom, not the squishy, huggy, oh, I love you. Love is the freedom to express any of those possibilities. And it doesn't feel intentional. It feels like it's just sort of up to chance. Like, try this, try this, try this. How does it look like this? It's just curious, but there's no real intent there. It's just a happening. So that's what I'd like to bring to this discussion. And I love y'all.
Uh, Hey, Chuck.
Hello, everyone. Good. I just had to get in there right away because, to be honest, your comment made this whole thing worthwhile for me, and it had a whole lot more for me than YouTube that I just watched. That got me here, for which I really, really needed and appreciate. Uh, Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chuck. Hey, Nadago.
Hi everyone. So happy to be here. I just love being here. Um, it was so great for me to surrender. Um, um, because oh yeah, my foot was swelling up. I actually I didn't know. I just didn't know. I don't know. and and when I surrendered and I had to keep surrendering was when I actually heard what I didn't hear before, or the doctor told me. And so um, um, now oh yeah, I didn't know that I had to keep my foot up, and that was the reason. Anyway, so now I'm doing what they're saying, and it's just so great to just know that I don't know, and and just to keep surrendering. And I just love being here with all of you, and I'm just I'm just so grateful. So yeah, that's what I'm just so happy to be here with all of you, and I'm just so grateful. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Consciousness. He has a definition of consciousness. And again, interrupt me at any time, right? So this is what I wrote down. This is consciousness, the capacity of one to know itself. He had longer definition. Like literally, it's such an interesting thing for me. And we talked about it briefly in one of these meetings. I'm looking at Livy. You can't tell that right now I'm looking at Livy. But I I listened to him and I really appreciated the direct experience and everything that was going on. The other part that I really appreciated was that I didn't listen with this idea that he knew something that Cindy didn't know and that Cindy was less than because she didn't understand what he was saying. I also didn't listen with this thinking that he knew something I didn't know and his theory was right. Like I didn't go thinking that his with this open idea that his theory was wrong either. It was more like, look at how excited he is about this theory. And it's okay that right now a lot of it didn't make a lot of sense to me. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's not for me right now. But this idea that I am because I'm aware that I am, it's not a new idea. My computer no longer thinks I'm speaking English again. I don't understand that either. Um, but this, but all the different ways that he was trying to say, and this is why computers will never be conscious. Um, there felt like there was something there. It didn't feel like I needed to understand it exactly, though I do have this sense of recognizing that there's an awareness here that isn't aware, that I have no idea how this sense of a me is different than your sense of a you, which is an interesting thing that he was talking about, that it comes from the inside out. And that's actually something that I've been noticing my verbiage of it. So if you heard some of what he said and then you listen to this and want to comment on it again, any one of these things, Ron and I were talking about it, any one sentence, we could just go off on and I'm perfectly okay. But I recognize the slower I've been coming in just the experience of life, that I am experiencing the life through this screen. And I am continually experiencing others through this screen. I've already proven to myself more times than I can count that this screen isn't true. Right? It's literally taken, this screen is capable of taking someone saying to me 2 + 2 = 4, and by the time it hits inside, I would have heard 2 + 2 is 17. Like, so I know I know that the screen in which Cindy is experiencing the world with distorts the incoming information. I've proven it enough to know that it's worthwhile really sitting with my interpretation of so-called outer experiences, because it's coming through my filter. And my filter has been known to be inadequate. Sometimes it out and out lies, right? So my experience of the world from the viewpoint of a me in a world out there that's not me, there's no way for me to know what your experience of the world is or what your experience of me is. It's all kind of a perception. And I don't, Rana was giving me some sort of Nisargadatta Maharaj quote. So if she can hear us and when she comes back from her householder duties, it was a really kind of cool quote that fits. So this idea that consciousness isn't, from a viewpoint of an individual, isn't necessarily what we think it is. And it is a perception of reality, which is different than saying it's true. Amy's got her hand up, so I'm going to hand this over to Amy. Did any of that land in any kind of interesting way?
Yeah, yeah, I think I'm just reading something for another class today, which is that to think with God is to think like God. And that came to my mind when you said I can't think of, I can't know what any other separate person is thinking. And I just got, confirm your speaking language. So yeah, I don't know. It must be some new thing in Zoom. What really struck me was, and the way that Andre interviewed him. So I kind of looked at it from a different perspective, and I watched it a couple weeks ago, so forgive me for my generalities here, but I thought I like Andre's interview style more and more because he really does his homework. So he asks really good questions, I thought, and he does a lot of listening as well. But this scientist guy, this thing came out of his chest, this light, and all the rest was commentary. That's kind of how I felt. And it impresses on me this wonderment, because I don't have a mathematical mind, but I love what math shows us when math itself encounters wonderment. I love that. And I love that the universe is sort of giving us these people now who are able to say with some authority that the system is a closed system. Mathematics is a closed system. And it's only going to take us so far. And it's held an enormous amount of sway because it's like a language that's very difficult to learn, and most of us don't learn it. And it has amazing predictive ability and creative ability at this level. And so we have accepted that it's true in all situations for all things, and then closed ourselves within its closed system. And yet the wonderment never dies, you know. And so I love that the universe is sending us these scientists like Nassim Haramein, who doesn't believe in consciousness. I was watching that the other day, which is a whole other subject. But these scientists who are starting to look at consciousness as immaterial and opening to that possibility and seeing where it takes them. I think that's beautiful. I love it. I love it. And so, you know, yeah, all the rest was commentary. The thing for him was this knowing that he had that was so amazing. And I find myself sometimes, you know, the word is like, I want some of that, you know. And the truth is, I've already had some of it. I just want it all the time. Right. So thank you for this. And thank you for your summary, Cindy. I just love us and I love these conversations.
Ditto. William, it's so good to have you here.
I appreciate that little burst of acknowledgement. Thank you, Cindy. And what it means to me is that I just am halfway through Federico. I just keep going back to, I'm just this one little particle of now. And I spend so much time trying to describe and justify and explain, interpret, and so on, so I can connect with other people's little particles of now. I feel like we're all just part of this oneness. It's just one, just one. And each of us, as I observe it, particularly myself, I just want to describe this little particle I just experienced. To me, just seeing his expression of what his chest did in the openness, what I experienced, anybody, what I experienced with my niece, she continually, through her smile, her being, her action, she was just that little particle just showing. She just was in that particle so much of the time I spent around her. So that's why I think all the words in what I'm saying now just really, they're interesting maybe, or maybe not. Don't mean a thing. It's that particle, that moment of now that we all are. We just are, we are, we are. It's in my theory. But I'm just now trying to describe what that particle of experience is to me. And I think that's what we continue to do. And I love it when Richard says, God, I don't understand a thing that he's saying almost. It's like giving myself permission not to get too caught up in my explanation about his explanations. And this sense that when I'm with people, I just love when I don't have anything to say and there's a silence and I feel I'm in that oneness, just that moment. And in a sense that they are too. So I don't have to make up words, or we can, and we can dance, but the dance is not the moment. It's just a reflection of what energy is released. So, and what I get when I'm here, it's like Indigo, my feet on the trip have been swelling. My whole heart is just kind of tired and I get winded, but I just love the way Indigo is just just willing to be at the point of now, 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 now. And that's what it just seems like. It's always this now, one, and then we play in the words in our minds. And now we play in our words. Now we play in our words. I love it. Just, and I don't have to understand anything. I don't have to believe anything. I don't have to really, in a sense, I'm just here, just here. Thank you for creating this space. So I don't have to do anything. I just be here. I go along for the ride. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to respond before I hand things to Mel. Words are such an interesting thing. What I'd like to say is simply what occurred, or my memory of it. Your few minutes of sharing yesterday, when you put words to a fear held in a spaciousness in that seemed to be connected to the fragility of this sense of being a separate self. Changed me, opened me. I sat quite a bit. I didn't go back and watch David Hawkins again. That was for whomever. But I could, your words carried a message that dropped underneath something here. I went to sleep with the energy and the words. I woke up with them. I contemplated the just even what fear is and what it means, and is it the glue that holds this sense of a separate self together? So we can talk about the meaninglessness of words and the need for silence, and yet, at least for me right now, words carefully chosen in this space carry a message and a frequency and an energy that this separate self is not receiving without them. So I love you, William, and I love how you present, and you are forever a blessing in my world anyway.
Well, I could cry right now. And I hear that moment that occurs, magic occurs. And I did listen to Hawkins again a couple of times. Thank you, thank you, thank you for even. But what I got is that knowingness in me. Somehow I heard it from you to him to me to I don't know, doesn't matter. But I just had another hit in the moment. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We share something.
Hey, Mel. Good to have you here.
Hi everyone. You can just listen to Bill all day. Just love his voice, and the silence. But yeah, oh thank you. It's wonderful. I did enjoy it. I actually listened to it 2 hours twice. And I have one question. My one question is, does anybody know what the sati is? Sati. They talked about the sati. Okay.
I think it's a name he made up.
Okay,
It's
because I
part
thought
of his theory.
Oh, okay. I'm not the only one that didn't quite get that. Okay. But there were a couple, one highlight. Well, one was back from Amy from our last gathering on Thursday, this afternoon. We were talking about the sum is greater than the whole. Remember we were talking about that? Well, he dived into that in classical physics, the sum of the parts equal the whole. You can take the parts all apart and they make the whole. But he went on to say in quantum, the sum is greater than the whole because there's a synergy when you bring things together. So that resonated with me because we're trying to explain the sum is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So that was really kind of neat that, that's happening in beyond the classical physics. And I also appreciated where he he emphasized the foundation of cooperation over competition. And that's really powerful because cooperation is what connects us. And we're such a culture of competition. I mean, you look at kids in school, they're from day one, they're into, competitive sports, and then college, competing against each other. It's all this one and me first, and it's such a huge theme. And how important is cooperation for the survival of humanity? It's not survival of the fittest, which is competition. It's cooperation and connection. So I was glad he made that point, and that he, being a scientist too, was could emphasize that. So that was really powerful for me too, and also the idea of free will, because he made the point that free will is not at the level of the body mind. Oh, and his idea of the drone, the drone is like the body; it's just out there seeing and perceiving. But what's behind the drone is what's critical. It's the consciousness that is behind it. And then he talks about free will, that the drone can do something that it would not normally, as a biological instrument, do, because there is a consciousness behind it. And that made me think, that's the free will. That made me think of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane when he said, not my will, but thine. He, no one would want to go through what his body was going to go through, yet he was able to be pulled by the higher. It just shows the higher consciousness in play there. So that kind of resonated with me. And the last thing I wanted to say, at the very end, when Andre and I did appreciate that, the contrast between the two was really cool. We have the scientists and then Andre, but at the very end, he said, "Okay, do you have anything more to say?" And he goes, "I love you, man." And that was so cool. It was such a contrast, and I see Andre just kind of responded, "I love you too." It was so cool to see, the straight guy, the scientist, say, be so effusive. So anyway, there were some of their gems for me.
Yeah, I have a lot of notes about the drone if we get to it, but his this whole cooperation thing, his examples are so fun to watch. He's like, we're 71 trillion cells. Can you imagine if every cell wanted to go in another direction, a different direction? And that, I don't know that I'll ever quite forget that visual when it comes to this idea of cooperation. And it's the same with the drone. And we could talk about his views of near-death experiences or alien life, because it was a quick conversation, but then the guides answered it in their channeling from last night too. So it's all coming together for me anyway. So it's kind of neat. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mel. Richard.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I love you all, and I'm glad I was able to join you today. Normally on Thursday, I'm not able to do this, but I really enjoyed the podcast. And it reminded me also of the article by Kendall about the chrysalis. It reminded me that I believe we need to be very careful that the illusion isn't just this lifetime. It reminded me of the law of one. The law of one says the third density of the 8 densities is the shortest density. This is the physical world that we all are experiencing. This is the shortest density, only lasting thousands of years. When we move to the 4th density, which we're currently doing consciously, that's in the millions of years. So to believe that once we leave this body, and this dense body that we're experiencing, we're going to have this momentary forever experience for the rest of our existence as a separate self is not true. I've come to believe that. So when people talk about a utopian world, we're talking thousands of years. We're not talking about a couple of elections. So And what I believe all the teachers are, according also what he said about the Sadies, he said that Frederica said the Sadies are, when we leave the physical plane, we take the Sadies with us and we reincarnate as a same being in another body. That's dualistic. In my mind, that's not oneness, that's separateness. So I found that interesting. The same with the will, sense of will, free will. Free will only is, from my belief, only exists in the dream state. Only the separate self can decide. The real self is, there is no decision. There's nothing to decide. It's just inness. And I think the lesson in this density is, regardless of the teaching, that if you can be what William talks about from, and Ego talks about from moment to moment, without judging it, what's going on in the dream and your experience, then you're ready for any dimension, any density. So if you can be that way in this density, which is the most dense conscious entity in all of existence within the dream, then you're home free. I mean, when you leave this density and move forward, you're going to be happier than most. And it reminded me again of Christian Sandberg, where he said he found this being that was so loving and so peaceful and that's because he went through the physical density of the body. And so anyway, I really enjoy being with you today, and I love you all.
I love us all too. Hey, Sandra.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. I didn't think I would. I'm leaving this afternoon on a trip, and I'll be back next Wednesday. So first thing that I note, I really love the best about the whole 2 hours was the first 5 minutes, I think, and that was the description of awakening. I love that. I love it whenever I get to hear or read about, like Angel DeLulo in the very back of his book describes his awakening experience. And David Hawkins, I found in one of the back of his books, I think the epilogue, the prologue's the beginning, epilogue, he described his awakening experience, and I just love hearing those. It's kind of like Amy with the near-death experiences. There's something about them, these experiences, that is so comforting to me. Comforting is the word. I don't feel alone anymore. So the second thing that I was going to talk about is what Mel brought up about competition and cooperation. I don't think I've ever shared this with anybody before, but I just felt the urge to share it. Since I've had that awakening experience, I play games totally differently. We're a big game family. We play cards, we play Monopoly, we have ping pong tournaments down in the basement with the kids, everybody, and I always really used to enjoy winning. And so now when we're playing a game, and my husband had to get used to this, he didn't like it at first, but like, we'll be playing Scrabble, and I'll go, and he's stumped, and I'm going, let me help you with your word. Let's each play together instead of trying to compete for points. Let's maximize the most points we can get together. And then I'll go, oh, here, I'll give you one of my letters. That'll make a better word. It's like, no, that's not the way you play the game. And so with cards, like Rummy, the same thing. It's like, I don't want to do something that will make another player sad. or not win. And it's like what we say in the course, your perception just completely changed. It just blows all the rules out of the water. And you get to have fun helping each other instead of competing against one another. And it's funny because the grandchildren go along with this better than the adults. They like it. The adults think I'm breaking all the rules and it's not fun anymore because they don't get to win. Mel, I'm so glad you brought that up because I don't think I've ever talked about this before. It's like so much of life is different. And it's like it permeates every aspect of your life. Several people mentioned his enthusiasm. That's what spoke to me the most. I resonate with that enthusiasm because I have this enthusiasm that, that I don't only really get to express here a lot. So, and as far as words go, William, I really like what you say about that. And at the same time, I realize that the reason, I don't know if it's the reason, but I woke up reading. It was when I was reading a book that I had my awakening experience. And without those words, I don't know if it would have happened. So there's something in the words, even the words that are shared here amongst each other, that penetrates, that touches, that embraces us, these words we share, and connects us. At the same time, enjoying the silence and the no words. It's like both. It's both. And wow, I just love all of you. And I'll miss you when I'm on vacation.
Take us with you.
I've done that before. I remember once tuning in from Puerto Rico.
Just remember me in your heart when you're
yes.
something beautiful.
Yeah,
and we will feel it. If you do that, there's no doubt they'll just set the intention to share it with us every time something beautiful occurs. Thank you. I love us so much. William.
Well, it just occurs to me now. See, in this moment, words are just like a gasp, oxygen, energy, whatever it is. Words don't have to be a separate existence. They are part of the oneness. So I just think one includes everything. And so sounds like I get on a tirade about my words don't mean anything. Well, so what? That's just more in the moment. That's occurring in the moment too. I just yield to the moment, and whatever shows up, in words or no words, or a fart or a gasp or whatever it is, shows up. It's just part of the oneness of that moment. And that's what I think I'm beginning to, that's why I like the chest experience, all these experiences of waking up. It's just accepting the moment. That's what I get from it. So anyway, I just want, it sounds like doesn't matter what it sounds like. This is moment. It had to be said.
Well, I for one am glad it was said. Livy.
So many things. Hey, everybody. It's so great to be with y'all and to hear everybody. And, the old sayings like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And, I have a sister that says more without words than, a lot of people do with words, And I remember we were somewhere and I made a comment and I could just see the judgment rolling in her head without her saying a word, you know? And I just looked at her and I said, that was really loud. You know, I heard your silent judgment. But, you know, I loved his enthusiasm too. And I'm so grateful to be a part of a community that promotes free thinking and promotes that, you know, we don't have to agree with everything that we hear and we can appreciate it a lot at the same time. And even though I had a oneness visceral experience, it really isn't making sense to me without having anyone to really share it with. At the time, I didn't know who to share it with. It was weird. And so in a lot of ways, it makes more sense to me now than it did then. And I find myself becoming more awakened the longer that I'm in this group. And I find myself in the mornings waking up because it's like Rana had described once, I'm piecing together the separate self of me in the mornings. And now I'm able to recognize sooner that that's not the I am that I am. And you know, I so look forward to being here with y'all and as y'all guide me through the awakening and provide all the different viewpoints and Indigo's beautiful viewpoints and just everybody's pointings. And I'm really, really grateful to be a part of this community that supports and encourages awakening at, you know, our own pace and you know, the freedom to just be. You know, we can come to I Am the Open Door and we're allowed to just be. And what a gift that is. And so I'm just really, really grateful to be here with everybody. And I sure do love all y'all so much.
And I just feel the dog with you still. Your favorite dog.
I am inspired to read some words that I put on a piece of paper this morning um, as it relates to words. Just so happens that it related to words. You know, I write every morning, and here's what was written, and I never quite saw things this way before. I didn't ask these questions in this way before. So, hand is seen holding a pen. It is being moved, and words are appearing on the page. Consciousness looks upon the page. The words are seen. That which looks through the eyes, is it the same source from which the words appear? Is that which witnesses the hand holding the pen moving the same conscious entity that moves the pen? Is it the same conscious entity that dictates the words? Is it the same conscious entity that reads the words written back into itself? What moves Cindy through the world she sees? And where did she appear? Where did Cindy go when the body-mind slept? Where will she be when the body's heart ceases to beat? Birds call. Who listens? Who feels joy at their song? The leaves of the birch tree move. Though a glass separates the sense of a me from the tree, I seem to know that it is a breeze that moves the leaves. What creates a breeze? From where does the breeze arise? Is it the same source that moves the hand holding the pen? Is it all one source? And if so, then it stands to reason I am that. and all is well in my world. Richard.
Well, your writing reminded me of was a question I still have on my mind after studying the course for over 30 years, listening to numerous teachers of different disciplines. And no one seems to have an answer for this question. So the question I have is, when the course says, into eternity where all is one, there crept a tiny mad idea in which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. So my question that I ask myself is, how did a tiny mad idea creep into the mind of eternity? How does separation happen in a non-separate environment? So no teacher touches this question. I like the idea of a dream, and what you were saying is, how does everything manifest in my mind, my experience, my awareness? Like we always say, I have no idea. It just happens. And my job is either accept it as it is and be one with it or suffer. That's my choice. So, but I was still waiting for that answer. I remember I asked Francis Lucille once at a conference. I said, Francis, I said, why does infinite awareness, which is perfect love and a non-eternal and all one, choose to experience its opposite? Why would it want to experience suffering? Why would it want to experience separation from self? And the answer he gave me was, why not? So it didn't really didn't help me much, but anyway, so it's an interesting journey. I really enjoy it. It keeps me on my toes. I mean, to put it that way.
You know, what's fun is I heard Rana say that recently. I don't even remember. Oh, Patricia asked the question, and Rana's response was, why not? And now, see, Rana, you are as oh, Barbie. Yeah, Barbie asked the question, and your response was, why not?
Thank you,
So-
Richard. I was gonna say, why not? I was just gonna write in the chat, a famous question, why not? I love it.
So Rana is obviously as much of a sage as Francis, which reminds me, it's the name of next week's podcast, Francis the Sage, right? Or something like that. And Amy's going to facilitate that conversation. So what a great lead in, Amy, don't you think? It's all yours.
Wow, see how things work? That's amazing. Just one quick thing about words. Reading Paul Selig last night, and he's channeling these words, and the same is true with A Course in Miracles. And what he's saying is that the words contain a certain tone or certain vibrations. And so the vibratory qualities of the words actually lifts off the page and has an effect on the non-material awareness. And I think the same is true with A Course in Miracles, the way that it's written. And we can get locked into that in an unhealthy way. So you have to be willing to be flexible with that. And I think about the Bible with that, like if you change one word, then you're condemned to hell, because that's not true either. But there are certain vibratory qualities with words that transcend and it's the sum of the letters the whole of the word exceeds the sum of the letters on the page. So it's kind of similar to that in a way, and I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Thank you. And you took us, well, you took us to William, who's gonna lead us out.
I just want to echo a little bit of what you just said, Amy. I think Muji just has a wonderful brief video this week on when you find the quote or the saying or the whatever it is that really resonates, focus on that, because that speaks in your moment. That's a moment that's being expressed, somehow resonating. And when you find that, just spend your time and focus on that. And you're just advising people, do that for a month. When something's being, and that's what I got from Federico or Hawkins, the knowingness when something, that door, whether it is the death or the dying, whatever it is, but when there's some kind of, it's not the word itself, but it's what that word opens up in the moment, expressed through the moment. I don't know, but just so I just look now, words can be so separate, which is fine, and play a game with them. And they can also be the staff of life.
And with that, we've had our hour. I'm gonna stop the recording tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, for reality check.